Hey everyone, welcome to my live. I am Donette, and we are here for Motivational Tuesday. So, I want to get started with just a little experience I had a few weeks ago. So, after I got on and I began to talk about some of the processes that I'll be taking to moving back and to Guyana, and I had already made this decision, of course, before I came to you guys on this live and even in the videos that I post. I had made that decision, but for some reason, because I have many motivational speakers that I listen to and other things that keeps me going. So for some reason that day, I just had I was doing my exercise out in the park. Well, actually, it's the churchyard because the park, since the pandemic, I had moved away from it because of just the crowd and people not being responsible in my state for in terms of wearing their mask and so on. And I'm really, really big on masks, and I'm really, really big on people taking care of one another, and I'm huge on the fact that we should do what it takes to take care of our brothers and sisters in this world, and to not watch people go to their demise, knowing that we're contributing towards their their factor in the end, which is oftentimes for so many, too many, which is death or a lot of struggles after COVID. Anyways, I began to have this overwhelming sense of just discomfort and just anxiety about everything that I'm making decisions on. And I don't think that it's something that none of us have gone through in terms of making decisions in our lives, important decisions, that is. But I just began to have this a little bit of anxiety. It's a tremendous undertaking. It's a it's a process that needs careful thinking through. It's not something that we can just do and feel, like, okay, it's just we're just going to jump into it. I mean, literally, there is an analysis, there's breakdown, there is money, there is transitions, there is family, there's all these other concepts that we must deal with, and it's also intricate that it doesn't operate in a vacuum. Meaning that it's not one little thing that we're talking about, or it's just not one area of focus. It's literally so many other aspects of it. Like I said, so I had this huge set of anxiety just kind of came over me, and I was walking in the churchyard because it provides a lot of space that you can exercise, and I do several laps, and it's close to my house as well. So that's one of the reasons why I go there. I go there after they're done with their morning service, so that way I'm not running into their crowd. That's on days that I'm not lecturing. So then all of a sudden, just this thought, and this is when I say God just talks to you, like He knows when like when you know God, when you know that He's there, when you know and you believe in that trust between you and Him, it matters. So He just reminded me of the time when I was so anxious about making that move, or that important move from New York City to Florida, and how frightened I was at the thought that I was leaving everything that I've ever known and moving across the country, and that I have no idea what I'm about to meet into. I have no idea where I'm going to live yet. I have no idea. All I knew was that I'm going to go to a job. At that time, I was already hired. I do know that I was going to stay by a friend for a few weeks, but outside of that, long term, I'm leaving my family in New York. I'm first coming to Florida before them. And I had to pave the way so that they can come down after me. That means I had to get an apartment. I had to get things situated. We had to close off the apartment in New York City because we had just renewed our lease. Thank God the guy was very generous to us. So he gave us back. We had just paid rent. So he had given some monies back to us to help us with the move, right? So because he was very generous and he's a nice guy, so he had he knew we were a young couple, and any assistance that he could give us, it mattered. And when you have landlords that are that good, and maybe that's why I'm such a good landlord today to my tenants, because it influenced, definitely how I see things. Even though I've been tenants in places where people are very nasty, you just remember the good that people have done for you. So this guy was really good to us, and I think he gave us back either most of the almost $1,100, or just about, if not all of it. Can't remember, but either way, he was generous to help us out, because it was like we paid, and then the call came, for me to come to work, and then I had to move. Because the semester was going to start, so I needed to get moving. And my husband was still in New York; he was still going to be there with our kids, and so forth. So, with that, I came down here, but it was the weekend. I don't know how many of us remembered when the New York City went black, for how much, many hours. Pretty much, everything was shut down. So the lights went off. I was in a building stuck with these corporate kids. That's at that time I was working with some corporate babies. Um, I'd left journalism and went into just working after school, and doing whatever other jobs I can do at the time, just so that I can finish up my master's at NYU. Didn't want to commit to anything extreme because I was finishing up my master's. That's why I left corporate, so I could finish up my master's. So to have taken on a position where I would be required to do more hours, and take me away from my original goal of leaving corporate America, which was to accomplish my master's, didn't make too much sense. So anyway, I'm working at this place. The whole place is shut down, no elevator. We finally, after about 12 hours, and the kids' parents came and picked them up, and they were from all kind of companies: Turner, NBC, CBS, ABC. So it was a lot of corporate. Corporate offices that would drop their kids. So we were the sitters for these corporate offices. And the in the process of trying to get home, about 12 hours, or so, 12 to 14 hours, trying to get from Manhattan to Brooklyn, it was a arduous, very, very strenuous process. Couldn't get cabs, couldn't, all that stuff played out that night. Anyway, finally got home, and then a few days, I think, no, the same day that the lights went off was the day that I found out that I needed to actually come to Florida to do my interview and so on. So I knew the date prior to the lights going off. That's because when I went in the morning hours to the job, I checked my email on their computer. So I already knew, not knowing the New York City was going to go black on me on that same weekend. So I needed to get to Florida. But I have to tell you, the fear was overwhelming. The fear, I went in, first of all, in 9/11, it just happened. What is it, a year before or 2 years before? I can't remember. But either way, my fear of flying somehow just heightened. I was never fearful of flying prior to that, by the way. I was always a flyer. In fact, went on to sat the test and had got hired at a company to become a air hostess. So this is before I decided to go to school. So I was just out of high school when I did this. So flying was, I love flying. I've been flying since I was in high school. So it wasn't anything to me. It was something that I loved to do. But for some reason, after 9/11, like so many people, flying just terrified me. And then that weekend came where it blacked out, and then I had to fly. And literally, I have to tell you, the fear was overwhelming. But I knew there was a purpose. and I couldn't stop. Remember, I said before that I had already had dreams, I'd already had visions, and I knew. But let me say something: if the devil was assigned to me that weekend, he was assigned to me, because my fear had me shaking in my boots. Fear of the unknown, fear of not understanding why is it that I'm packing myself, putting my family through all this to walk into God in heaven knows what. Then my friend called me and told me that she couldn't have me at her place anymore. So I had to go by another lady's house, which I didn't know who the lady was. And I was, going through my own battles in her house. And I was already going through my own spiritual battles prior to coming here in my new state. And here it is that she's telling me she can't have me there. Or this is the person I feel most secure about being with her. These are some Christian brothers and sisters, and I knew that I would be safe with them in terms of my anxieties. My prayer life would be okay. I would be going to church. I'm looking forward. And then here it is that she calls me, like right when I was at the airport, to text me to tell me that she couldn't pick me up anymore. And I am just there, like, are you kidding me, Lord? This is after I landed here in Fort Lauderdale. Um, so, of course, not only did my fear heighten while I was flying, but when I got down to the grounds and she texted me, I was even in more panic. Anyways, she told me where I needed to go. I jumped into a cab, not knowing, if this guy had taken me to elsewhere, I wouldn't know because even though I'd gone to Florida before, no one knows everywhere. So I was literally, from Fort Lauderdale to the area. I think it was Sunrise or something like that that the lady lived. I can't remember. Got there to Sunrise, got into this lady's house. After just a few days, I had so many battles that she had to come pick me up. The same girl, which is my friend, that said she couldn't have me anymore, and eventually I would end up staying there, and everything fell into place after that. Um, this is just to say to you that sometimes our fears can really overwhelm, and fears can kill our dreams. They can. The fact that I went through, and I said all that to say that that day in the park, in the church lot, when I began to feel so emotional and so frightened, the Lord reminded me that I'm made for such a time as this. That when I was in my worst state of fear, that He had already had a plan, and that I didn't have to worry then. And if I look back at my life, and if I see the accomplishments, not only of myself, my husband, our children, I have to tell you guys that if I had let fear taken over me, the things that God has blessed my family with, I would have never realized those dreams. I am so happy that I didn't allow that fear to frighten me to the point where I buckled and I gave up hope. Let me tell you something. I was frightened that day in that plane. I went to the bathroom, I don't know how many times, just to calm myself. And I don't know that it was just the plane ride because, sometimes we can just get over the plane ride. I think it was just everything that came upon me that day: fear of new place, fear of new culture, fear of, um, not knowing what to expect. Will I get a new place on time? Fear of leaving my family, fear of not succeeding, fear of whatever my fears were. They were so overwhelming. And just God reminded me that day recently, like I said, as I started to plan even more deeper my transition back to Guyana, that those fears are going to be quelled, and that the accomplishments that I'll have in this new venture of my life will be far greater. And it requires sometimes that we feel fearful, but our fears should not kill our dreams. We should not allow our fears to hinder our progress. That's what I want to say today as well. We should not allow our fears to kill our progress or to hinder our progress. Even do it through your fear. Doesn't matter how fearful you feel, just do it. Whoever promised that there will be no fear, that there will be no anxiety, that there will be no troubles? Not even Jesus Christ promised us that. In fact, he says that there will be, right? But he's already overcome it. So we don't need to live in fear and to let the devil push us out of our future dreams and hopes and accomplishments and things that we can have into and building, the kind of legacy that we want to, because that's exactly what the enemy wants. We want to make sure to keep walking into those dreams despite the fear that we feel, despite the anxiety that we feel. I certainly believe that it is in the valleys that we learn our greatest lessons. I don't think many of us learn our lessons from being on the mountaintops. That when we have accomplished so much in life, we're like, yes, it's great. But how many times can we testify of the greatness of God, or the greatness or the things that we've accomplished, when we are on the mountaintop versus when we were versus the times we were in the valleys? It is always usually in the valleys that we talk about the times when things weren't hard, were so hard, the hardships that we face. It's through financial hardships that we learn how to be benevolent. Most of us. It is through divorce that we learn how to value people in our lives, or the man or the woman in our lives, so that when we remarry. So I've known several of my friends who have remarried. And at first they were like, no way, I'm never going to do that again. And because I am such a believer in families and marriage, and because that's something that I preach on and I teach on, and I always try to motivate all my single friends or single people that I know, because I told you I'm not big with friends, but single people that I know, I always motivate them to try one more time. And it's funny that I've seen three of them got remarried for all the years that they spent saying, I'll never do that again. And then eventually they'll text me and say, hey, I'm jumping that broom again. Hey, we've decided to take this to the next step again. And then this new marriage that I see them enter into, as I follow these ladies, these wonderful ladies, it's completely different from what they have shared with me in terms of their experiences. So their experience tells them, don't do it this way anymore, sis. Do it this way. Enjoy your partner. Value your partner. Allow your partner to be who he or she is. Help them to grow. Manifest great things in your house. Use language and words that are edifying to your home. Show that you care. Express your love. Kiss, touch, love. Be there for them in a sexual way. The ways that every husband wants to be satisfied. And because we know that, men think about sex, they said the research shows 166 times a day. Women, we think about security more. I said this before, right? So um, we reach him where he is, and he reaches us where we are. They say, I heard this minister who said that to have a woman be vulnerable sexually, he has to have that, he has to give her that security that she needs. So don't be messing up and doing boyfriend things and expect to have that wife material or um, wife satisfaction. our wifely satisfaction. She gives you more because you make her feel that way, right? So, anyways, getting back to these ladies. So all the things that they're doing now in their marriages to make sure that it's satisfying, that it's fulfilled, that it's successful, are things that obviously they were lacking in some ways before. And so the success in their new marriage, you can see. I mean, they're gloating or gloating in their marriage, in their marriages now, marriage relationships. So um, we need to not have, I think overall, what I'm trying to say is, given another chance, don't be fearful of, having good and healthy relationships because something else has gone wrong. It is through those divorces that we have in our lives that we learn how to love, appreciate, show tender mercies, be forgiven, and to love people unconditionally, and to be there for them in so many ways, and to be there for your husband or wife in so many ways. Um, like I said, it is in the valleys that we learn the most. Um, I also wanna mention this. So, and in this process of learning, and in this process of not becoming fearful of the things that we encounter, or I don't know, the enemy riding us with certain conversations that we shouldn't have in our minds in the first place. In that whole schema, what we all wanna do is embrace, not only the fact that we will feel fearful, that we will have failures, but also that out of those moments comes success, and lots of success. So don't give up, right? Carve out your team as well, but make sure that the team that you carve out, that they're people that you can learn from as well. They're the people that are going to help you along. They're the people that's going to show you another way how to do things. They're the people who are going to help you to succeed, and they're going to be the people who will help you to kind of navigate those fears and those anxieties that we feel. So overall, through all the things that we go through, which is supposed to sometimes they feel like they're going to just stop us in our tracks. Like, there's no way I'll get over this, that there's no way I'll overcome this moment. And wow, there's so much going on in my life right now. And there's anxiety about, students have anxiety about passing their courses. They have anxiety about going to work, and succeeding at work, kind of succeeding in the classroom, succeeding in their private lives. All of us have all sort of anxieties and fears, but I say do it anyway. There's no way you can get rid of fears. I don't think fear is something that is meant to be gotten rid of. I think we can look at it and say, if we feel some anxiety about something, then it's fair enough that it's normal. So let's normalize fear, because, if we begin to thrust it into that special kind of arena where it's so impactful that we can't get past it, then that's exactly where we're going to be stuck. Some people are so fearful. They're so, um, I heard this the other day where they were talking about the fact on this motivational piece that I listened to, where they were talking about the fact that so many Americans get up every single day and they go to jobs that they don't like, to earn money that they can't even pay the amount of bills that they have, and to impress people that don't even care about them. And so, this whole fear of leaving their jobs, this whole fear of, not succeeding, it overwhelms them in such ways that they don't even want to leave their job to pursue something that they really dream of pursuing. And so I want to tell you that I have no intention. And I'm so glad that the Lord reminded me of the fears that I faced and how I overcame it, because I have no way, I have no intentions, I'm sorry, no intentions of not going through with my plans just because I feel a little fear, just because I'm a little bit anxious about something or another. I'm going to have fears. I'm going to have anxieties. I'm going to have financial anxieties. I'm going to have anxieties about different, moves that I have to make. I'm going to have anxieties about, leaving my kids. That's just part of it. So I'm going to just normalize my fears, all of them, because I'm moving forward with my plan to do what I got to do. I know I'm prepared. I know everything is well. And someone said the other day in one of their blogs about the crime in Guyana, um, by the way. And I responded to her because she blogs, she vlogs. So I responded by telling her, like, listen, crime is everywhere. She may be listening to this at some point. Crime is everywhere. America is currently the most dangerous country that I can see. And I said the other day on my Facebook page that if you're black and are brown in this country, it is the cops that is coming after you. And if you're white, it's the mass shooter that's coming after you. So this isn't a safe country for just about any of us. I don't care if you're black, brown, white. It's not safe. So when we talk about um, other countries being unsafe, listen, I'll take my chances, because we were discussing gun control in one of my class courses, and one student argued that there shouldn't be any gun control. Of course, people who believe in that Second Amendment is very, very strong on their views, and I have no problems with their views, because I'm very open minded, and I'm always ready for a discourse that lends itself to you hearing me out and me hearing you out, and understanding that we may never come to a consensus on our views, on, well, yeah, on your view or my view, our views. But the reality of it is that there's something that needs to be done. So this whole thing about this country being unsafe, I mean, Guyana being unsafe. Listen, if Guyana is unsafe from America, it must be the most murderous country in the whole entire world, because this is unsafe. It is. And even though I'm going to be leaving my children and my grandchildren here, future grandchildren in this country, um, I mean, I can't force them to pack up and leave. I don't want all of us to pack up and leave. This is their country. They were all born here. All of our children were born here. So this is their home. You know, they're Americans by birth, and I wouldn't want them to choose any other thing if they don't want to. But I know where my country is, and I want to go back to it, and I think it's safer, far safer than here. So definitely, there. Do I have fears of going back and something happening? Like I said, I think I'm, preparing by, trying to get a license gun, and also not being so anxious about things around me or whatever it is. Surround yourself with the right people, make right choices, be smart of the environment that you're in, and just be the same kind of I guess, resident that I was in New York City, where I was more cautious about my surroundings because of New York being what it is. So if I can live in New York City, I can live anywhere in the world. And this is what all New Yorkers say. There's nothing that frightens us because pretty much it's New York. Listen, you grew up in New York, ain't nothing frightening you, no matter where you go. But the reality of it is that they're dangerous people in this world, and they don't mind cutting you short, cutting your life short. So those are the people that we have to be smart about in terms of making right decisions to protect ourselves and to protect our families, if so be it. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening in. Don't let your fears overwhelm you. Don't let your anxieties trouble you so much that you give up. And just remember to do it in fear, anyways. Do it anyways. Doesn't matter that you're fearful. Do it anyways. Doesn't matter that you're anxious. Do it anyways. Right? What's the worst that can happen? Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. And I am Donette once again, and welcome to my Tuesday blog, motivational blog. All right. Thanks. Bye bye.